Starting off this countdown, we have the space roar. In 2006, NASA detected the loudest sound in the universe. They decided to give it the name the space roar, and it's pretty fitting. So basically, back then, scientists started looking for signals in the universe. They did this by sending a complex instrument to space that would pick up radio waves from the heat of distant stars. Little did they know what it was going to pick up. This instrument ended up detecting a signal that was 6 times louder than anyone ever expected. And scientists still don't know what's causing it. It's way too loud to be from an early star and far greater than anything they have ever recorded thus far. So they are baffled. Where is this loud signal coming from and who's sending it? In our 9th spot, we have the neutron star. In September of 2016, astronomers observed something that they had never seen before. They saw a long stream of infrared light coming from a neutron star 800 light years away. Now, neutron stars normally emit radio waves or higher energy radiation. Signals from neutron stars have been observed before, but they have never seen infrared light coming from one. On top of it, this light spread across a large stretch of space, which was also unusual. To this day, no explanation for this signal has ever been produced. In our 8th spot today, we have the Jupiter waves. The recording I'm about to share with you was recorded by NASA's Juno spacecraft as it was observing the plasma wave signals from Jupiter's ionosphere. And turns out, Jupiter sounds creepy as hell. Take a listen. That's no plasma waves, okay? That's the sound of alien life forms screaming for help. And guess what? NASA is still investigating these sounds because they also found them to be quite weird and spooky as hell. So they're trying to find out the exact source of these sounds. Because maybe they believe it's coming from aliens too, or something like that. Moving on at number 7, we have the face on Mars. Now, if you're into space, then chances are you have already seen this terrifying photo of what appears to be a humanoid face on Mars. It honestly gives me the creeps. So in 1976, NASA Viking 1 orbiter flew by Mars and captured this eerie looking thing on Mars' surface. People were automatically freaked out because it looks like it has 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Rumors began to fly that this was a signal from aliens. That, or this was an alien-built monument on Mars. Or it was their way of trying to communicate with others, like us. Maybe this face is of someone the aliens worship. Who knows? An alien god, maybe? Maybe. Or is it just something that naturally formed on Mars due to erosion and all that? You decide what you want to believe. Coming in at number 6, we have the Morse code. Here's another message that was apparently sent by aliens. So in 2016, NASA's Mars orbiter took some photos of Mars when it flew by. Well, it managed to capture what looked like Morse code. On Mars, there were a series of raised dark dunes that looked like lines and dashes of Morse code. Unfortunately, it looks like alien Morse code is different than ours because it's spelt out gibberish. Unless it's not gibberish and that's an alien language that we don't speak. Maybe they don't speak English. The only complete English word was C, and not like S-E-A, but C, which is kind of creepy. Like, what do they want us to see? We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the surface of Mars. This recording was captured by InSight's robotic arm as its camera was scanning the surface of Mars on March 6, 2019. It literally sounds like a scuba diver breathing underwater. At other points, it almost sounds like a man coughing. I don't know about you, but I do not enjoy listening to that. It sounds hella creepy. I don't know what's going on with Mars, but I don't like the sound of that. Moving on to number 4, we have more creepy sounds from Mars. This was recorded by NASA's InSight lander on November 26, 2018. And it managed to record the first ever sounds of Martian winds on Mars. like the aliens on Mars are just having fun, or they're taking a bongo class or something like that. Or they're playing Plinko, you know that game with the Now, at one point in the recording, these clanking sounds started to speed up. They would happen more frequently and faster, and they got louder. As for what's causing this sound, some say it's some sort of signal sent by aliens. Of course, it's aliens, like everything else on this list. But in fact, the clanking might be Morse code, or some other kind of code that we have yet to figure out. Moving on, at number 3, we have the bright light. When I say that something sus is happening on Mars, something sus is happening on Mars. Back in 2014, NASA's Curiosity rover took a number of photos on Mars. In one of the photos, you could see a beam of light shooting up from Mars's horizon. A number of UFO believers believe that this is evidence of alien activity. Like they're sending that beam as a signal to us. They're like, hey, we're over here. NASA scientist Doug Ellison said that the light was caused by a cosmic ray hit, which is, terrifying on its own. It was so powerful, it caused high energy particles to fly through space. I personally just like the alien theory better. Moving on to number 2, we have the bizarre star. And I'm so happy that I came up with that because it rhymed and it's very satisfying. Bizarre star. A couple of years ago, astronomer Tabitha Boyajian and her colleagues saw a weird star that left them all perplexed. They named the star KIC 84C285, what a name. But they gave it the nickname Tabby's star. Now this star was bizarre because the star would dip in brightness. Now there wasn't a pattern to it. It would happen at irregular intervals and for odd lengths of time. For example, it would be shining bright and then all of a sudden it would dip in brightness. So people don't know what's causing this flux in brightness, which is why it was also given the name the WTF star, standing for where's the flux? Not what you thought it was gonna be, was it? Anyways, they don't know why this is happening to this star. They thought, okay, maybe a planet in orbit is blocking it. But it can't be a planet because no planet is large enough to block that much light from its star. So WTF is it? For real. Some believe that this is a signal sent by aliens. Are we surprised? No. Anything unexplainable that happens in space is blamed on aliens. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Oumuamua object. It's a really fun name to say also. In 2017, a man from Hawaii discovered a weird object flying by in our solar system. This object, however, was different than any other object that we have ever seen before. This thing looked like a space rock, but it's not a comet or an asteroid. It's too small and oddly shaped to be an asteroid. This thing is too long and it's shaped like a rocket. No asteroids that we know of are shaped like that. On top of that, it was 10 times long as it was wide. In fact, it is the most elongated known space object. Before the Oumuamua, the most elongated space object was 3 times longer than they were wide. This object beat it by miles. Not only that, but astronomers were shocked by the condition of it. Astronomers thought the first space rock to enter our solar system would be a ball of ice and rocks, aka a comet. But there's usually a cloud of dust and gas surrounding comets, and this object doesn't have that. So then, what is this? On top of that, it's said to emit blue colors from it. So rumor has it that this thing is an alien spacecraft, or it was sent into our solar system from aliens. And that's why it's unlike anything we have ever seen before. In fact, Harvard professor Avi Loeb said, and I quote, "Oumuamua wasn't a natural occurrence, but a bit of space junk sent to us by aliens from another galaxy." This could mean that aliens are really out there somewhere.
Coming in at number 10, we have Saturn's screaming poles. These sound well and truly spine-chilling. These sounds rival anything a space horror composer could score, and these are natural sounds from Saturn's poles. These were recorded by NASA's Cassini spacecraft in 2002, and they're radio waves that come from Saturn's aurora, so very similar to the light phenomenon at our aurora borealis on Earth. So imagine the swirling green, pinks and yellow lights accompanying these sounds, which have been sped up with a slight frequency adjust so our human ears can hear them. This sound comes from one of my favourite YouTube channels, Space Audio. They were uploaded in March 2015. Now Cassini completed its space mission in 2017, losing contact as it made a suicide dive into the planet's atmosphere on September 15th. in at number 9, we have Earth's hiss. Wait, the Earth hissed as a spacecraft flew by? Yeah, it did. The recording sounds like a huge breathing dragon. Have a listen. How is that anything other than the rise and fall of breath? It kind of sounds like Darth Vader. Apparently this is sound recorded in 1996 from NASA's polar mission. It's a sound of hot ionized particles generated by sunlight crashing into the atmosphere. It creates a sound like the Earth hissing at us, and to be honest, what with climate change and the rising greenhouse gases, I can understand why the Earth may be pissed enough to hiss. This isn't the first hiss heard from planet Earth by the patient ears of NASA. In 2015, a NASA student balloon experiment using infrared microphones picked up the unsettling sounds from 22 miles above the Earth's surface in New Mexico and Arizona. Coming in at number 8, we have music from the dark side of the moon. It was nothing compared to Pink Floyd. It was kind of a medium-pitched wooing isn't everyone's kind of music, but you know what? Each to their own. The astronauts on the Apollo 10 mission passed around the moon, and when they were the farthest side away from Earth, the dark side, they lost all radio contact with ground control and the rest of us Earthlings. As Apollo careered around the moon, they heard some very weird sounds, like really weird sounds. So weird that the astronauts talked about it constantly. The weird sounds were not reported at the time, but they were recorded and received by NASA when the mission returned to Earth. The recordings were then classified, which means that they were being safeguarded from human ears. Why? We're not sure. In 2008, the newly declassified recordings were found, and we can hear the weird woo noises for ourselves. Have a listen.
That music even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? You hear that? That whistling sound? Yeah.
The astronauts are talking about it constantly, and NASA hasn't really returned to the moon since the 70s, and I'm wondering, you know what? Is it because of these weird noises? Conspiracy. Coming in at number 7, we have the mysterious radio signals from deep space. For the last decade, scientists have been picking up unexplained radio signals they call fast radio bursts from deep space. In fact, on the day I scripted this video, August 7th, 2018, more signals were reported. Now these signals have ranged in frequency, but the most recent are 580 megahertz, that's 200 lower than previously heard. The latest sounds detected come from very far away, possibly billions of light years away. Now the radio signals you're about to hear aren't the most recent, but they are pretty unsettling, especially when the thudding kicks in. Just listen. Okay, and then there's some more. It sounds like maybe the plucking of a string, maybe? Currently, scientists don't know where exactly the sounds are coming from, but they are trying to pinpoint them. Coming into number 6, we have Jupiter's crying lightning. The official term for Jupiter's dissonant space whirs is Jovian whistles. These are descending and ascending sounds created by lightning strikes in the atmosphere. As you may know, Jupiter is a decidedly stormy planet, with its red eye being a giant storm that has raged non-stop for over 350 years. Jupiter, you stormy old babe. But I mean, let's have a listen to these terrifying shrieks. There's kind of like a shwam, shwam sound, and it kind of sounds like something being launched, like shoo, shoo. What is this about? It's the weirdest lightning I've honestly ever heard. I don't think you can actually hear lightning on Earth. Maybe. This sound was recorded by Jupiter's Voyager in the 70s, so they're around 40 years old. Now the planet is likely still screaming in its stormy areas and has been for hundreds of years. Can you even imagine? Coming into number 5, we have Ganymede's ghoulish shrieks. Honestly, I feel like Jupiter's moon Ganymede is trying hard to tell us something here. One of Jupiter's 16 moons, Ganymede, is officially the biggest moon in our solar system with a radius of 2,634 kilometers. kilometers. This makes her bigger than both Mercury and Pluto, and 2/3 the size of Mars. Hey there, big moon, what you doing? This big moon has its own magnetosphere, which creates some big noises, and they're pretty unsettling. Their sounds were recorded in 1996 by the Galileo spacecraft. The initial approach into the magnosphere is punctuated by strong bursts of noises. Then comes some stranger computer beeping like sounds. Have a little listen. Right? Then through the beeps comes windy sounding whirs, then the whole thing crescendos with beeps interspersed with what sounds like alien cries. Tell me what you think. Terrifying, right? Coming into number 4, we have the screams of a dying star. So it turns out that stars have feelings too, and why shouldn't they? They're much bigger than us, and we're actually kind of like teeny weeny blips, like atoms compared to a star, or even smaller. In 2012, scientists at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center released an artist's impression of a black hole swallowing a screaming star. The real-life star was spotted falling into a huge black hole 3.9 billion light years away in the constellation of Draco. It seems as the stars get sucked in, they release blips of light every 200 seconds, which NASA thinks are like screams. As the star is so far away, we haven't got an actual sound recording that the star made. Scientists say that the frequency of the light, if converted to the sound, would sound like a very low D sharp. NASA buffs can predict what this sound is like based on the oscillations that have been observed by smaller matter falling into smaller black holes in our galaxy, the Milky Way. Coming into number 3, we have a creepy singing comet. In 2014, scientists recorded a strange whirring, almost alien-like sounding noises. The clicking, vibrating sounds get even higher in frequency and sound very much like I would imagine an alien trying to communicate with us sounds. The Rosetta orbiter picked up the sounds from the 67P CG comet in August 2014. Have a little listen. So I don't know what is going on, but neither does head researcher Karl-Heinz Gleismeister, whose team was baffled by the noise. The European Space Agency think that the sounds must be coming as a result of a process of oscillation from the comet in orbit. I'm still so confused as to why scientists always give space objects such sterile names like 67P CG. You really missed a trick here. Anyway, what do you make to these sounds and the singing comet? Coming in at number 2, we have the heartbeat of a black hole. So this is a thing apparently, and actually I'm terrified. I thought the black holes were where things went to die, but it turns out that they may have a little soul going on in there. While we can't directly see or hear what black holes are like, we can see and hear what they do to their environment. In 2008, an MIT professor, Edward Morgan, translated X-ray data from the star system GRS 1915-105. He then turned it into sound. Now the binary star system is a black hole and a star that feeds into it, and this is what it sounds like. So, kind of like a heartbeat, the beating of a deep, dark, all-consuming black heart. How romantic and seriously twisted. Okay, finally, I am pretty sure that listening to this will actually send you mad, like bonkers never be the same again mad. I was listening to this with earphones while researching this video, and I had to take them off because it sounded like there was a drill going through my brain. Coming into number 1, we have echoes from Titan. Titan is one of Saturn's moons. The sounds you're supposed to hear right now were recorded from Huygens, an atmospheric entry probe sent by the European Space Agency into a suicide landing onto the alien moon. The sounds are absolutely far out. It starts with a beating and then some interstabbing robotic sounds. Listen.
And I went off the deep end.
Ed Kemper has been serving a life sentence in this California.
Then, well, whatever this is, buzzing, brain numbing, buzzing.
At age 15. I would have killed until they gunned me down. I wouldn't have been able to reason my way out.
What do you think? Can you deal with that? Okay, this is where it gets awful. It reaches into a crescendo where you think your brain will explode.
And I did it in my society.
Seriously? Seriously, stop, Titan. Stop this. Titan's kicking off. You may want to couple this sound with images taken from Titan 2. Together they're quite the intergalactic horror story.
At number 10 now, the sound of a black hole. Edward Morgan from MIT collected X-ray data on a distant black hole, then transmitted it into a sound that is audible to humans. The original of this is about 1,000,000 billion times deeper than anything you could ever hear. The deepest note in the universe, in fact. But with a little bit of tweaking, here is a sound of an actual black hole, and it's terrifying. Coming out at number 9, we have the Lost Cosmonaut. In 1961, two Italian brothers recorded a signal from space which they claimed was from a secret Soviet space mission. It sounded like a female cosmonaut who was in distress while trying to orbit the Earth. Something had apparently gone wrong. She was complaining of feeling hot as she burned up in the atmosphere. Now the Russians announced that an unmanned craft had burned up in the atmosphere and denied they had any knowledge of the lost cosmonaut. At the number 8 spot now, we have Tabby's star. This mysterious star was discovered by amateur astronomers and found to be about 1,400 light years from Earth. The strange thing was, the brightness of it would dip by 22% for days at a time. Some suggested it was a Dyson sphere, a theoretical alien structure that would enclose a whole star to harvest all of its power. For many years it's been just a sci-fi idea, but Tabby's star seemed to fit this theory very well. At the time of recording, scientists are still carrying out further studies. Coming in at number 7 now, we have 234 stars. In 2016, Canadian astronomers found something very strange within the Milky Way. 234 stars that were blinking at exactly the same rate. Eric Trottier, the astronomer who found this, proposed that the signal was just too much of a coincidence. He thought it was of alien origin. He said that the pulsating signals were caused by an alien civilization flashing a laser in our direction, causing a faint but detectable blip in their star's light. The stars could even be 234 different civilizations pulling together to try and contact us. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the sound of Saturn. In 2002, the Cassini spacecraft passed by the gas giant of Saturn. It listened to the planet's aurora caused by its huge magnetic field. The signal was way out of human hearing, so they slowed it right down, they compressed it, and this is what they heard. Alright, moving on to number 5 now, we have the Lorimer burst. This signal was detected in 2007 after astronomers dug through 6 years of previous data. Then, they found it. It was a very brief burst of radio emission, just 5 milliseconds in total. The area it came from was 5 to 11 billion light years away from Earth. This means that when the signal left its origin, Earth hadn't even been formed yet, which is mind-blowing. Scientists were shocked to find that whatever made this signal released more energy in that short burst than the sun does in 4 months. Moving on to number 4 now, we have this. It's a very weird name, but it has an incredible story behind it. Scientists detected this signal from an empty area of space with no stars or planet systems near it for about 1,000 light years, from an area between the constellations of Pisces and Aries, and yet a signal came. It was detected as being a short burst at about 1420 megahertz. That's one of the main frequencies at which hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, absorbs and emits energy. Scientists have often thought of using this to contact any aliens out there, and so when we received it, it's drawn a lot of attention. Coming in at number 3 now, we have frequency 4462.3. This signal came from a star only 100 light years from us, and it was a star quite similar to our own. It's called TYC 1220911, and it was nothing out of the ordinary until it did something. The noise it made was just 10 seconds long, but now that it's been adjusted so we can hear it, it's very scary and creepy. Tell me what you think of it. Next up at number number 2, we have the cosmic roar. In 2006, a group of California astronomers were trying to detect the very first stars in the universe. Instead, they heard a radio wave roar. What they heard was 6 times louder than the faint signal they expected to detect. In fact, this roar was 6 times greater than the combined emission of all known radio wave sources. And this wasn't the sound of the Big Bang, it was the sound of something mysterious from the start of the universe, something more intense than we've ever encountered. And finally now at number 1, we have the wow signal. What else could it be, really? In 1977, Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope detected the strangest signal ever heard from space. It came from the Sagittarius constellation, and many scientists thought that it sounded like it could be of extraterrestrial origin. It lasted for 72 seconds, and then it was never heard of again. The astronomer who found the signal was so shocked by it that they wrote "wow" in the margin, giving us its name. Now it's been adjusted like some of the other ones so that we can hear it, and this is what it sounds like. Alright people, I could sit here and talk about science all day. I don't think I'll ever get bored talking about it, but I've got other things to do, like making the next video on this channel. Let me know what you want that to be. I'm Danny Burke, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.